Hi again then guys, and so the final vehicle that I was waiting for has arrived in the post in this very tasteful package. So we'll open it up and yeah, do the usual. He looks very nice. This is another one of those models which isn't necessarily like an obvious one for me, but it is a car that has been featured on Gran Turismo. As far back as Gran Turismo 4, I believe it was introduced on. Auto Art, which is the same as the Panos. I don't know why I still keep acting like these cars are surprises, because I put it in the title now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But still, open her up. This one was also a bid that I managed to win. I've been waiting a lot more recently, so I bid at the last second. So this is the model. The Gran Turismo fan will of course recognise it pretty quickly. It is of course a Callaway C12, based on the Corvette mechanically. If memory serves, I think it's a C5 Corvette, 5.7 litre V8 underneath, something like 430, 440 horsepower, thereabouts. Yeah, I love the look of this car. To me, when I first saw it, I would have been in my early teens on Gran Turismo 4, and it immediately reminded me of an Aston Martin, which at the time I wasn't that into, but since then, I actually love this car, and they are surprisingly cheap. Well, cheap. They're not cheap, but they're surprisingly well priced, let's say, for a vehicle that is as exclusive and as reworked as a C12 is, and as fast as it is. I'd say they're pretty well priced. So, as usual, I'll get it off of its little plinth here, and then we will take a closer look. And so here it is, off of the plinth, so you can get a better look at it. Pretty nice looking model, I think. Silver is, I think, probably the choice I would have gone for, actually, because although I love yellow, and in the game I generally have the Callaway in yellow, there are some times which I just like to have something completely different to what I would usually go for, and to me, with this car, that is silver. And the funny thing about this one is, in a similar way to how a supercar called the Invicta S1 has rear lights, which look very much like a Volkswagen Passat, this one, I would say, has rear lights, which, if you look at them, look so similar to a first-generation Vauxhall Tigra. It's a little bit unfortunate for an exotic car to have that. Even the way in which the lights have this ridge, which runs across the back of the car, even that is the same as the first-generation Tigra. But yeah, I love the look of the Callaway C12, because I'm not a huge fan of the C5 Corvette in general. I do like them, but it's not one of my absolute favourite Corvettes. I think the C6 and the C4 are my favourite Corvettes, the C4 generation in particular. But this one, to me, just took the C5 Corvette as a base model underneath and turned it into such a great looking machine. And even though technically it's not, it really looks to me like a homologation car, like a GT1 machine. And of course they did race these. There are some racing versions, the C12R. And Callaway's made a number of different Corvette-based exotics. The C7 is one of the most extreme. But yeah, I just think it's a great-looking car. As I mentioned earlier, the prices on these are, I would say, quite reasonable, given how exotic they are. Kind of like the American equivalent of a roof for Porsche. Callaway is to Corvette what roof is to Porsche, in effect. They don't just tune them, they turn them into these completely new models. And I think that's cool. So for this one, you've got the working doors, which have got a nice chunky feel to it. I like that. You've got the forward hinging bonnet, which is pretty nicely detailed there. Very nice detail, as you can see. The interior looks pretty nice also, with a two-tone. And also, the back end opens on this one. The trunk lid, if you will. And this actually brings me to one of the things that I've always loved about the Corvette in general, but especially from, I think, the C4 generation onward. They have such good trunk space. I mean, look at all that trunk space in the back. And this is, you got to remember, this is basically a supercar. At the very least, it's a super sports car, but I would say it's a supercar, the Callaway C12. And for a supercar to have that kind of trunk space, that's just unheard of. You don't have that kind of luggage space in a supercar typically, and the C5 Corvette has that, the C4 to some degree, the C6 even. They have so much trunk space in the back, not in terms of depth, but just the sheer surface area. You can get a surprising amount of luggage in the back of a Corvette, or by extension, a Corvette-based vehicle like this one is. So although I know, technically speaking, practicality is irrelevant to a supercar, I still love it when supercars have practicality, like how the McLaren F1 has all those hidden little storage bays, and many of which you wouldn't even realise that it had, because you just wouldn't think of it. Like on the side of the McLaren F1, just behind the door, you've got like a little panel around here, and it actually opens, and you can put luggage in there. I think that's so cool. It's something which Gordon Murray didn't need to do. It was totally unnecessary, given that it's a pure supercar, F1 car for the road, just for the fun of driving. But he chose to do it anyway, just to make it that much cooler. And I love that. I think it's cool when they go the extra mile for a car like this. And to me, that is the case. The steering, incidentally, also works on this one. It's not a huge amount of steering travel, but who cares, really? So yeah, pretty nice looking model, I think. It's got a lot of, what I would say, a lot of presence, this car has. It's the kind of car that you pull up to an event at and everyone immediately looks at it, because it's just, I mean, apart from the size of the car, it's a very big vehicle. It's just such a pretty looking machine, I think. So yeah, again, something a little bit more, not super obscure, but less obvious as far as model cars go. And I think this one's going to look pretty nice next to probably the Venturi, and in particular the Selena 7, which I've actually moved to here on the windowsill. They'll look pretty nice together, I think. So yeah, great example of an American exotic. And yeah, very happy with it. I got it for, I think, about half the price that they usually go for on a buy it now. Because this is, as I said, an auto art model, like the Panos GTR1 was. And they're usually very expensive, auto art models. You're looking at like 90 or £100 for one of those, even a used one. This was no way near that. Like I said, this was less than half that, because I got it on a bid, and I left my last bid until the last second, really jumped up the bid. And I jumped it up to what I was hoping to get it for anyway, but I just jumped it up to that at the last second. So the other guy who was bidding didn't have the time to find out what my bid was and match it, even if he wanted to. And I'd recommend doing that. If there's a model car that you see that you want, then I'd definitely recommend doing that. But yeah, gorgeous looking model, I think. A nice addition to the collection. This is the last one that I've ordered at the moment. I think I'll probably wait a little while before getting some more. But yeah, thanks for joining me again for an unboxing vid. And if you'd like to check out some other ones, of course, you can click through to the playlist for all of these unboxing videos at the end, plus my full collection in the Beards and Cars episode. That's also in the playlist. And as well, as I said at the start of the video on screen, if you'd like to check out closer up HD pictures of all of these model cars that I've got, as well as other models that I have which I don't do unboxings for, stuff like Batman Arkham game models, then you can check out my Instagram to see those. But yeah, that's about it. So I'll see you guys next time. And as always, thanks for watching.